People really don't buy mid-size SUVs because they need to go off-road, although we have taken this one off-road. Look there, there's a bit of mud on it as part of our testing procedure. Also, people don't really buy these cars because they need the space from them, because after all, they're not actually that much bigger than a normal family hatchback or saloon. Really, the main reason people buy these kind of cars is because they stand out from the crowd, and this new Lexus NX, well, it certainly does that. Forget the Porsche Macan, BMW X3 and even the Range Rover Evoque. When it comes to turning heads, regardless of whether you like the look or not, the new Lexus NX is without doubt the most dramatic looking car in its class. Despite the wild looks, this is a great car for carrying rear passengers. For starters, this opening is nice and wide, so it's good for if you're having to deal with a baby seat. Also, on some other SUVs, you catch yourself on the wheel arch as you're getting in, but because it's nice and wide, yep, you don't on this one. Now, this front passenger seat is level with my driver's seat. As you can see, there is absolutely acres of knee room there. It's really, really good. Headroom's good as well. Of course, like with this car's rivals, you can recline the seats there. But something that's different to them is if you look down here, you'll notice the floor is almost completely flat. Other SUVs have a transmission tunnel because obviously you need space to send the prop shaft to the back wheels, whereas this one, even though it's four-wheel drive, you don't have that because the rear wheels are actually powered by an electric motor, so there's no prop shaft from the engine. And if you need to carry someone in this middle seat, they will find that actually they've got a decent amount of headroom, there's plenty of room for their feet. They're actually better off here than they would be in most of this car's rivals. The interior design of the Lexus is about as good as it gets too. With multi-layered surfaces and a high-tech looking centre console, it makes the cabin of some other mid-size SUVs seem a touch old-fashioned. The Lexus NX comes with the kind of standard equipment you'd expect from this type of vehicle. So we've got DAB digital radio, there's cruise control, there's dual zone climate control, we've got an 8-speaker sound system, which does sound very good. Also, there's 7 airbags in here, including one for the driver's knee. If you want leather, which of course you do, you're going to need to upgrade to the luxury model, and actually I should say that this leather is very soft, it's very nice quality leather, that is. But if you want the range-topping model, the Premier, that comes with a 14-speaker Mark Levinson stereo, which sounds absolutely epic. Now I should talk about cubbies. And on this car, they're reasonable. They're not the class leader, but they're all right. We've got a large central cubby here. The door bins, if you look down there, you'll see they appear quite small, yet they can actually fit this 1-litre bottle. There you go, which is good. You've got a decent sized glove box there, a couple of cup holders there, and this little storage area under here to keep the sweets away from the children. And the lid, actually, look, it's a mirror. Now, I'm not really entirely sure why they've done that. Maybe that's for the kids as well, so if they're playing up in the back, you can give that to the child and they'll be like, look, shiny. I don't know, really. Here in the UK, you can only get one version of the Lexus NX. It's the 300H. Now, H obviously stands for hybrid, and you can actually get 2 versions of that particular model. The front-wheel drive version, where you've got a 2.5-litre petrol engine mated to an electric motor, which drives the front wheels, and that will give you a rather impressive 56.5 miles per gallon, and it emits just 116 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide, which is incredible for this type of vehicle. You can also get a 4-wheel drive version of the 300H, and that has an electric motor at the back to drive the rear wheels, and it's actually almost as economical. It does 54.3 miles per gallon and emits just 121 grams per kilometre of carbon dioxide. These claimed economy figures are possible because the NX recoups energy under braking, stores it in its batteries, and then uses it to power the electric motor, which either assists the engine or enables the car to drive on electric power alone for short distances. And when it does, the NX is eerily silent. It's also very quiet when you're just cruising down the motorway because this cabin is very well insulated for sound, so there's hardly any wind whistle or tyre roar that you get, spoiling the ambience. And it's such a relaxing car to sit in because these seats, well, I tell you, Lexus, as far as I'm concerned, make the best car seats in the business. They are just so comfortable. I mean, I wish I had these in my lounge instead of my couch. I could go for miles and miles and miles in this car, and yeah, I'd feel fresh as a daisy. While all this is good, in many areas the Lexus NX lags behind the competition. For instance, here in the UK, there's only one engine choice until a 2-litre turbo petrol version of the car arrives in 2015. Then there's the ride quality. It's not bad, and if you drove this car on its own, you'd probably think, yeah, it's all right, you know, I'm reasonably comfortable. But if you back-to-back it to its rivals, it's just a little bit off the pace. And the reason is that when you go over broken surfaces, it tends to fidget around. You can feel it coming through the seat. And then when you hit a bump, it kind of pops and bangs. You can feel the suspension crashing as it goes over that bump. And it just doesn't glide in quite the same way as, say, a BMW X3 does. Speaking of which, the BMW X3, the 2-litre diesel feels faster than this, because when you put your foot down in this thing, it pauses, and then there we go, it's pulling away now. And it's like the petrol motor, the CVT automatic gearbox and the electric motor have to kind of all come together in unison. It takes a little bit of a discussion between them all till they finally decide that yes, we would like to accelerate. And once the NX eventually gets into its stride, you've probably lost the overtaking opportunity anyway, or the will to live. You know, I was speaking about the economy earlier. Well, hybrids, if you drive them really sedately, you can get close to those claimed figures. But if you drive them just in your normal driving style, they don't do as well as diesels. For instance, this one, if you look down here, it's on average returning 30.7 miles per gallon. Oh, it's just gone up to 30.8. Wow. The NX's sporty looks are just as deceiving as the claimed economy figures as well, because a Porsche Macan will run rings around it. And don't go thinking the all-wheel drive version can follow a Range Rover Evoque off-road either, because, well, you might get stuck. Then there's the boot, which isn't as practical as that you'll find on most of its rivals.
For instance, while the parcel shelf is easy to remove, it's not quite as useful as those concertina types you get on other SUVs. And yeah, you can store it underneath the boot floor, but you have to fold it in two, and it's a bit of a fiddle, so I'm not going to bother to do that now.
Another problem I have is that if you want to fold down the rear seats, you can't do it from here. You have to go around to the back doors, as the levers all the way down here. Now you do get a fairly flat low bay. The volume's all right, but if you have the seats up, the volume is actually a lot smaller than that of most of its rivals. For instance, an Audi Q5's boot is way bigger. However, there is one saving grace. And the reason the boot probably isn't all that large is because if you look under here, you'll see, oh, there's a space saver spare wheel. That comes as standard, and that's not something that you find on lots of other SUVs. Really though, you're not going to buy this car just because it's got a spare wheel. The main reason to buy the Lexus NX, as I said at the beginning, is because of the way it looks. I should also point out that like for like, it works out about £1,000 cheaper than the Range Rover Evoque, which you can watch our review of by clicking up there. If you need a car such as this but want a bit more boot space, then you should check out our review of the BMW X3 by clicking down there. Click down here, you can watch our very latest review, and if you click up there on our logo, you can subscribe to our channel.